This is a special podcast presentation from 700WLW.com. This is Doc Thompson On Demand.
Doc Thompson on 700 WLW. Your chance at $1,000. Doc's Money Shot coming up at 11:10. We'll do Game Day, powered by White Castle, at about 10:35 this morning. We're going to do cougar sightings. You know, we are getting very close now. What is it, 2 weeks from Tuesday? A week from Tuesday. Let's see. Yeah, a week from Tuesday, the election. Wow, it's closer than I thought. Got a bunch of different levies on the ballot as well, and Rich Hoffman joins me now from Lakota Levy. Hi, Rich. How you doing?
Hey, just about the same as I was the other day.
Yeah.
Still in that hurricane.
So we're a week from Tuesday. That's getting close. What is your speculation about the Lakota Levy? Fails?
Oh, I think it fails. I think it fails based on the information we're getting. We have more support this year than we had last year. So I think it fails. But that still doesn't discount the fact that, just like with the issue 2, you have the people who are going to support the school because they have people in the school and all that. They're going to show up and vote. So you still have to go out there and vote. So, defending voter turnout, I think it fails big.
What about Lakota's levy next May then? Does that one? And then the following November, how did those fail?
That's right.
And the one after that, how about that?
No solution in sight, just like Mount Healthy. I'm sure that they'll put it on the ballot the next day when it fails, and that's the way it's going to continue until there's some sort of solution. And
I'd be willing to bet, albeit my fortune is a small one, I would be willing to bet my fortune that conversation has already been had by some people. What do we do if it fails? We put another one on.
Yeah,
they're planning that.
They'll do that, and that's what they do. I mean, you've seen that with Little Miami. We've seen it with Mount Healthy, and I think the only reason Mason hasn't done it is because of the Stacy Schuler case, and otherwise they'd be right on there too.
Very, very, very interesting. A lady called last hour and mentioned the issue 2 as part of the whole Stacy Schuler thing, and we really hadn't tied that into it a whole lot, but it does tie in. It's a good argument when you're saying, we've got to make sure that we and the community, kids going to our school, or even if we're just in that community, in that school district, that we've got to make sure we have some say in what happens to teachers.
Sure, and I think what happened there, and when you talk about Stacy, I feel a little sorry for her, actually. Sure. When you listen to all this come out, it's obvious she was on the rebound from a tough marriage. She was going through that hormonal thing, and there were some guys willing to take advantage of it. I mean, who wouldn't? But on the other hand, the administration knew about it. Nothing's ever came up in the prosecution. We've now heard what all of the evidence is, and they didn't bring up the George Coates situation and the fact that a lot of teachers and a lot of administrators,
former principal, right? Assistant principal? Yeah.
And they knew about it. And instead of acting on it, he sent pictures of himself to her on her school computer, which is how this whole thing started. And he's completely gone. Kevin Bright's completely gone. All those administrators that were in the know are out of here, swept up clean. And you don't see the union out there on her behalf, trying to protect her now. They pretty much left her out to hang and dry. And if there was an assessment of some kind, where we had teacher evaluations, this might have come out and she might have been able to get control of it. But everybody stayed off of it because it's too much of a pain in the neck to discipline a teacher for this kind of thing. So everybody just turned away.
Right. I think that's part of the reason after issue 2 fails, which I really think it's going to. I said that from day one. I'm on record now. It's going to fail. Issue 3. Likely to pass, but I think it's going to be close. Issue 3 is, of course, the amendment to the Ohio Constitution that says that you can't mandate Ohioans buy health insurance. The federal government can't do that. It's kind of the anti-Obamacare legislation.
Yeah.
So I think issue 2 fails soundly. I'm talking 58 to 62%.
That's the way it looks, That's the way it looks now. I mean, it really depends on voter turnout, and I think there's a lot of, when you do the polling, I think there's a lot of people who aren't sure who's calling them, and what I'm getting is that they're reluctant to even give their decision on the phone because of this whole union fear and all that. So I really don't know what the voter turnout's going to be. It really, if you support it, you better get out there and vote for it because the other side will definitely show up to vote.
I think issue 3 has actually kind of flown under the radar because of issue 2 that people don't realize it's out there or whatever. And I think you haven't had as much opposition to it because they've been focusing on some other things.
Sure, all the money's been dumped into issue 2, but issue 3 is equally, I would say, it's epically important on a national scale because you need that amendment on the Ohio Constitution to challenge Obamacare. And if Obamacare is allowed to be unleashed upon everybody without any sort of regulation, we're in deep trouble in trying to come up with those health care costs. That's going to really drive up costs.
How do you see the other levies in the area going? I know you're not as intimately knowledgeable about each and every levy and each situation, but how do you think? I think overall they're going to fail. I think you may see one or two squeak by. What is there, 11 in the area that's
There's
on?
11 in the area. I think a couple of them might go by. But I don't know. I haven't seen this kind of opposition in the years that I've been paying attention to this kind of stuff. And I'm certainly not a person that intentionally went out to look for education issues. I just simply didn't want to. You see a problem in your community and in the taxes. You ask, well, when's it stop and what's the plan? And you try to apply the principles you apply to your own life to this, and it doesn't make any sense. So that's how you get involved. And since I've been paying attention to this thing, I haven't seen this much resistance citywide, let alone statewide. I'd be surprised if they had more than 2 of those pass, and they may not even get 2. All 11 of them may fail because the Mount Healthy situation is ridiculous. The West Claremont situation is ridiculous. Little Miami is absolutely preposterous. I mean, they're talking about almost a house payment. It was what their tax would cost if they.
Well, and the problem is, Rich, they keep putting the issues on the ballot, the levies on the ballot, but they haven't come up with any other new solution.
No, they don't.
I mean, I want us to take care of this across the board. I want us to reevaluate and redesign how we fund from the top to the bottom. But in the meantime, Little Miami, I don't live there, but if you want me to vote for a levy, fine. You can't just put the levy out there. You got to tell me what else you're going to do that is truly innovative and new.
Right. And the other day, at our recent school board meeting, the treasurer laid out what we're going to get for this. This levy would produce about $12 million, and what that is basically to control the escalating costs because they don't have a plan for how they're going to control their budget costs because they're driven by all their benefits and salaries and all that stuff. And once their current contract expires in 2014, you have that you run into that major deficit where those contracts start calling up those step increases, so you have to have the money to pay for it. And they're currently operating in a deficit because of what the contract last year gave them as far as benefits and salaries. So they're trying to offset that and then plan for the future by 2014. But then they're going to need more money then. So all it does is get you through a short period.
Right, exactly. I mean, like I said, we need to, again, across the board, I mean, nationwide we need to do it, but definitely in the state of Ohio, we need to redesign how we do it. We need to use technology. We've talked about it before. I had on Greg Hartman earlier in the week, County Commissioner for Hamilton County, and he was talking about working it out with Mark Mallory, and they have this commission for shared services, kind of a regionalization type thing. Not a new idea. It's just nobody's gotten it done. All right. Well, that's what I'm looking for, Rich, from the schools.
Sure,
I'm looking true, new, innovative solutions. I mean, if it's an old idea that no one's ever, implemented or has fallen on the way, fine. I don't care. But something other than you've got to give us a levy or you're going to lose your busing. You've got to give us a levy or we're going to sadly have to lay off teachers and they'll be in the streets starving and all of that BS. I want some new ideas.
Right. And think about this. You're talking about some truly creative, innovative ideas that would really be fairly simple for a lot of people. But we've had a little fun with our school board and the kind of problems they're having just on one person voting against some of the provisions and what a rift that's caused. And you've seen the school board over in Fairfield, which they have a levy on the ballot, and you've seen the FBI investigation that went on there, where somebody was actually trying to stack it up and pump money into the school board, and that person had to resign. These people, this is nuts. The folks that were voting for these positions.
It's become these little fiefdoms, these organisms there that people, they don't want anybody to come in. They don't want anybody to look at them and look at what they're doing. Everybody just vote the same way. Mm-hmm. Keep out. They control us. And no, I'm sorry. If you are really educators, if you really got an education because you care about educating and you care about children that is always put on all the banners whenever they want to pass a levy, if you really care about that, then you'll sit down with me and you'll sit down with a handful of other people and you will say, Doc, this is the best way forward to get the best education for the best price for the kids in Ohio.
Yeah, that's what we're arguing about. That's why you're supposed to vote the levies down. Now, you're supposed to vote good school board people, and you have to participate in the process. And then you see what happens if you leave it alone. You know, we like we talked about, these school boards don't seem equipped to even deal with no votes, let alone innovative solutions like you're talking about. And you're talking about something that would be a culture change, and they're not equipped to do that. I think what they all have in common is they all go to this, after the election, there's an OSBA conference up in Columbus, and it's the Ohio School Board Association. They all the school board members, and whoever gets elected into the thing, they all get invited. They all go up to the State Hotel and they have a conference for the weekend. And there's these seminars that teach them these strategies. And I know a lot of school board members now, and they've told me what goes on up there, and that's how they build this consensus. And that's why they have these. No one's really allowed to vote no. If you don't have 5-0, on a board, it's considered to be a taboo, and that's where Joan Powell, our school board president.
What's going on with your school board president?
Oh God!
Give us the quick evolution of what happened, the quick version there.
Well, she put out which you talked about here. She put out this endorsement letter to a couple of tax and spend candidates that she endorses. People who have been involved in the tax campaigns in the past, school board presidents from the past. She endorsed them. But the problem with that is there's a sitting board member who is running to keep her seat, and she didn't endorse her. So because she's angry with her for voting no on a couple issues, and that person has reached across the aisle. In fact, it's just Linda O'Connor. Matter of fact, she actually set up the meeting we had with the superintendent. So she reached across the aisle and tried to provide a little leadership and listen to the no Lakota people, and I guess Joan don't like that, and so she put out an endorsement letter for these other folks that will see things her way. And then that's turned into this major rift, which, of course, escalated again on Monday night. We talked about it Monday, joked about it a little bit, and then it turned out to be every bit truth. In fact, I think I know how we can solve our tax. Well, I think we start having mud wrestling events at these school board meetings. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
We just charge a little admission fee. Is that it?
$200,000 a person. There were 60 people that showed up. $200,000 a person, and they could come and see the Linda and Joan mud wrestle in front of everybody, and then our levy problems are solved.
Monday night at the fight, your steel cage match. That's what it is, right? You sell popcorn, right?
Sell popcorn. That would take care of the step increases in 2013. Popcorn.
And you know what we do? Then we go to the citizens and have them build us an arena for it.
Exactly.
Right? We have them pay for it.
We'll have taxpayers from Westchester fund a stadium so we can start having school board bus.
Don't worry, we'll roll the property taxes back, then we'll re-roll them, and we'll put a small sales tax on. Exactly. It's Monday night at the fight.
See, that's thinking out of the box. That's thinking the way it should be.
That's the creative ideas we're talking about.
Yes. But don't go to the taxpayers. Provide some entertainment, because that's what you're getting anyway.
That's about all we get out of the school boards at this point. All right. Rich Hoffman from No Lakota Levy. We got a week from Tuesday, buddy. Thanks, man.
All right. I'll see you.
All right. It's Doc Thompson at 700 WLW. At 700 WLW, got an email from Debbie. She said, please mention that Lakota has 2 openings on their school board that are on the November ballot. Okay, we just did, Debbie. Appreciate you reminding us of that. And you've got the election coming up a week from Tuesday. Man, it is getting close. It's not easy right now. These are hard times. If you are somebody,
what Stacy said.
What was that?
That's what Stacy said.
Is that actually Michael Scott? That's what Stacy said? Now we're changing the vernacular to that's what Stacy said?
That's what Stacy said.
I'm going to have that going through my head all day now. Definitely difficult times right now. A lot of people are out there. They're just trying to make a living. I understand that people are faced with some pretty daunting tasks when it comes to their bills, especially if they're laid off. The president's plan to change student loan structure, it's not a good one. No, it's not. I didn't realize, did you know current law, you cannot hold a loan balance on student loans past 25 years. It's just forgiven. I didn't know that. It allows the loan balance with his new plan No longer than 20 years. Just forgiven. How does that not just encourage you to rack up huge student loans and then just say, screw you, I'm not paying it. Defer, not pay, not pay, not pay. If somebody is not paying, if they get it restructured where somebody is not paying, if they get a lower interest rate, if they are able to pay less, whatever it is, if it's forgiven, that's nice for the person who has the loan, sure. But somebody loses. Who does that money come from? Well, if it's a federal loan, it comes from us. So who loses? You and I lose. The taxpayers lose. Somebody takes out a loan, does not pay it in full with interest. The taxpayers, they lose that money. You just ended up paying for somebody to go to school. Yeah. Okay, what about this? How about you just allow people to pay the loans off in a longer period of time? Doc, that's the way to go. Then they could pay a smaller amount and it takes longer. Okay, that means you're tying that money up that could go to other people for loans, or the federal government could spend someplace else, right? Still, it's not good for everybody. It's only good for the person who got the loan. This plan is simply giving more free stuff to people. Yes, it is very, very hard right now. Yes, it is very difficult if somebody has these huge, outrageous loans when they're just starting off into the world. If they start off and they have, $20, $50, whatever, $1,000 in debt, that's really hard for them.
That's what Stacy said.
Okay. All right. That's what Stacy said. All right, Ben on a cell. You're on 700 WLW.
Yeah, actually, I was calling to play game day, Doc. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. You're on for game day. All right, hang on a second. I had people holding. Terrence in Westchester. You're on 700 WLW.
Good morning, Doc. The first time, long time.
Thank you, sir.
My issue was with, and it's not to make a mockery of the women's lib, but they asked for equal rights and, for our salary compensation, acceptance into the military. So you got to expect them to get the same thing for law and punishment. And the other thing was, we talking about consensual, age of consent. There's a reason why young adults are not allowed to buy alcohol until a certain age or allowed to join the military. So even though it may have been fun, but if we're going with the double standard, if that was a 17-year-old girl who, too, have been involved with teachers that fell in love with her, it's still, if it was a man, we'd be lining up, in lines to take turns beating them. And the other thing about Lakota, not to jump subjects, but I had 3 kids. I got a daughter who's a senior this year. She'll be completing in January. She'll actually be graduating early. I have 2 sons that went through Lakota, and by the grace of God, they both wound up with football scholarships. That's just a heartbreaking situation. I have neighbors, Larry and his wife, and I couldn't imagine them paying more money because they're on a fixed income. They need to get together to know people, come up with a better solution so we can't keep asking for money.
Terrence, you're absolutely right. I've said that before. There's a way to do it, Terrence. When you look at what some schools pay to have an excellent rating, they pay a lot less. The idea's out there. The technology's out there. I've laid out some ideas, and I know there's other ones as well. We can do it, but people do not want to do it. And the people that do not want to do it are the people that have their little fiefdoms that are administrators at those schools. It's more the administrators and the school board members than the teachers. Teachers are a little bit guilty of that, but they want their little world. That's what we have to convince them. Fine, have your little world after we restructure the system. I appreciate your comments, though, Terrence. And as far as the women, you're right. I think there's been a double standard. We need to get rid of it, which is why I actively support cougars. We will have cougar sightings next. Game day, 700 WL.